Good morning. Hi there, Louisa. Hello, good morning, everyone. If you can let me know in the chat box that you can see the presentation and you can hear and see me as well, that would be fantastic. And also let us know where you're joining us from. That would be great. Hello there, Tracy Gala. Lovely. Thank you for joining this morning. Wonderful. We're going to give it just a minute or two to let everybody connect, and then we can start with the session. Hello, everybody in Italy and Greece. Lovely. Okay, wonderful. So it looks like the numbers are actually leveled off. That's fine. I think we can get started now. So hello, everyone. My name's Mark. I'm based here in Spain in a small town called Avila. And I'm a part of the professional learning and development team. And I'm going to be taking you through Own It today. But we're going to be doing two things, really. First of all, we're going to look at Cambridge support. So this is where you can find different resources to help support you in the classroom. And then we're going to dive into Own It and explore the way Own It is set up, like a unit structure, but we're also going to look at practical activities as well. Before we get started, just a reminder, you'll receive your certificates in the session in the follow-up email, and feel free to interact with us in the chat and the Q&A as well. So please do send messages, ask questions. I'll do my best to answer them as we go through. If not, at the end of the session, we will have some time to answer any further questions you have. But do interact, do let me know if there's anything you would like me to clarify. So Cambridge support for teenagers. Top tips for the start of the school year. Number one, create the right environment. Number two, give our students the tools for success. And number three, know where to go for support. We're going to try and explore some ways that we can do that, and we can help support you with that in class. So first things first, creating the right environment. We have to remember that our students need to feel three things to feel comfortable in class. Number one is that they feel that you care about them and their personal lives and aspirations. It's important to make sure that we let them know that we are there for them, support them along their English learning journey. Simple little things like making sure they know that they can come to you if they have any doubts. And also, more importantly, maybe make sure we can help them realize their personal ambitions. Another key one is to try and find as many opportunities as we can to recognize effort. We say effort over success because effort is what gets you to success, right? So if we can celebrate the effort when they do something well or they really try hard, that is something that really builds up that supportive environment in the class. And also the last one, to be successful and move forward, we need to find as many opportunities as we can to celebrate and recognize improvement. So if it's comparing from previous things they've done, or if it was a mistake that they always made and now they're not making, celebrate those successes. Now, these are a few points, and a great place where they come from is Back to School with a Bang. So this is a lovely blog that you can find, a blog post you can find on our Cambridge blog, which is the World of Better Learning. Really a great place to go. There's loads of getting back to school blogs and blog posts, and there's also lots of other blog posts there talking about inspirational activities and ideas that we can try and integrate into our classes. And this blog post, in fact, is by Daniel Vincent. Dan Vincent is, of course, one of the co-authors of Own It, the course we're looking at today. Moving on, don't forget we also have lots of lovely professional learning and development resources and books available. One of my favorites is definitely this, is Herbert Puchter's 101 Top Tips for Teaching Teenagers. If you're interested, I recommend you take a look at this. There's loads and loads of lovely, great ideas in this material. Now, though this one is obviously a purchase one, but there are lots of other great resources that are available for free. One of my personal favorites as well is the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework. I can't recommend this enough. If you haven't seen it before, it is the foundation that informs all of our learning material. So all of our course books are informed by this framework. And what it does is it identifies 6 competencies and the sub skills of each competency. And then it sort of explores ways that we can help build our whole learner rather than just the English language learner. Of course, that's our primary goal, right? It's our primary focus to teach them English. But this helps us and gives us other ideas in ways that we can support our learners. So you can see here, learning to learn. There's a lovely, this is inside the teenagers booklet. Here you can see there are key competencies, there are the components, there are can-do statements, and there's example language. Of course, this is just the guide, the initial guide. This is completely adaptable. You can take it and adapt those can-do statements, the example language. You can expand on it if you want to. And of course, there's also like walkthrough on how it's integrated into our learning materials. That is only one thing. The other thing that's great about this resource is we have activity cards. So for every competence, there's an activity card or 2. In fact, within the activity cards, I think you have over 70 classroom activities, not linked to any course material. So you can take them as a starting point and look for opportunities to integrate them into your classes. So again, these activity cards are brilliant. Lots of lovely ideas, all linked to those competencies that we saw. Okay, so let's take a look at giving our students the tools for success. One of our more popular resources is one called Test and Train. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, Test and Train is it's a tool to help our learners get ready for the Cambridge English qualifications. They can train with short on-the-go activities. So there's lots of activities integrated in there with comments from examiners, with auto marking, with the audios and the videos of speaking tests, etc. So there's loads of exam preparation resources in there just to train the learner towards those final exams. We also have authentic practice tests. It's another thing that they can do, which is basically a mock test, if you will. If you're interested in those resources, there's the link there in the chat box. Thank you, Aurelie. And what you can also do is contact your local Cambridge representative. They'll be able to help you there. Another great resource is Write and Improve. So Write and Improve, for those of you who don't know, is, again, another one of our really popular tools. Why? Because it gives instant feedback to our learners on writing that they input. So basically, the way it works is you log on. It is free. There is a premium version and a free version. The only difference is the premium version, you can set up classes, okay? The free version, you have access to the corrector, the feedback, your CFR level, it will tell you your level, etc. The thing that is great about it is it gives suggestions. So it will pick up on, for example, so you can see here, they write and they get the feedback. You can see it will pick up on spellings and it will give suggestions, but it would also nudge the learners towards correcting things that maybe are less accurate. And of course, once they've submitted, it tells them their CEFR level. So whether they're A2, B1, B2, etc. And it's quite nice because it motivates the learners to push forward. And it's good for us because you'll often find learners come in and say, well, I can't get a B2, it keeps giving me B1. And so we can guide them towards the things they need to do to achieve that B2. You know, whether it's use more adverbs, use more complex sentences, don't just use the present simple, present continuous, try to use some passive voice. Like these little things that the system will pick up on it and it will give you a very accurate estimation at your level. And even if you don't want to use the write and improve writing function, however great it is, there are loads and loads of sample questions for writing on here. So on the left-hand side, you can see there's a test zone. You got the B2 first, you go in, there's questions for part 1, part 2. I mean, there are just so many writing questions there. It's great to be able to just go on and take them. We don't have to think them up. We've just got loads of practice for our learners. Part 2, questions 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just all on there as a bank of questions, or you can use it as the writing tool. Moving on, another resource that I want to mention is Cambridge One. Now, Cambridge One is our home for digital learning. What does that mean? Cambridge One is where all of your course material will be uploaded. That is your front of class presentation tool. That is your resources, your worksheets, your audios. Also, you have your test generators, etc. So all of the resources you need for your course will be uploaded in one place. If you're also using primary courses as well as secondary courses, the learners can register and log on, and their platform is age appropriate. So the design of the learners interface is adapted to the different levels, different ages, sorry. So it's more child friendly, it's more adult friendly, depending on your age. And of course, we can collect data for us as teachers that's useful to us. So for example, we can assign, you saw test and train, for example. Maybe you want to assign a test and train activity in your classes, just as homework. What we can see is the learner's first attempt, their best attempt. So the first attempt is how well they did the first time they tried the task. The more authentic or real level they have, or the success they had in a more authentic way. The best attempt lets us know if they've tried again, if they've managed to improve. Okay, so it gives us this information in a nice, easy way that we can quickly assess how well either an individual or the group is doing on a certain piece of language. And it's very easy to set up. You can either do a quick login, so with Facebook, Google, or Apple, or you can register with an email here. If I don't have an account yet, if you click on register with an email, if you want to register with your school email, for example, you can do that here. Anytime you have any questions or problems, my recommendation is the first place you go is the help section at the bottom. It's really, really complete, and it has video tutorials on how to register. It has guides, it has FAQs, it has, honestly, it's just the best resource when you're trying to get to grips with the platform. Once you're registered and you're logged in, you'll have three main sections. My classes is where you can create your classes. Then from here, your learners can join the class, and then we can assign homework and monitor their performance online. We also have bookmark courses, so you can add your titles, the courses that you're using here, so you could just jump in and quickly find those worksheets, etc. There is also teacher support that I'll show you in a second, and you can also have a look at all of our other course material. So if you're interested, you can go see a demo of different courses, see what's there. So in my materials and the different things that come with Own It, you can see here, number one, you have a test generator. You have which is where you create your tests. You have your interactive ebooks. You also have interactive practice, so you can assign further support on grammar and language points from the unit. There's also more interactive books. You have printable and external links, so there's teachers' resources. This is where you get your worksheets, your listenings, your reading worksheets, all in one place. You get your audios, and also you have your digital collaborative tool where you can manage your projects online. Jumping ahead, we also have my training, and this is honestly your first point of call in my recommendations. Up the top here, you have four, you see these purple boxes. These are using Cambridge One. This is your guide on how to use Cambridge One. These are different modules that walk you through using Cambridge One in the classroom, using the presentation tool, the front of class tool, using Test and Train, and using Practice Extra. They are short modules with videos that just walks you through both pedagogical and like the logistical side of using Cambridge One. You also have modules on how to teach with different courses. There is one for Own It. So log on, go through this, and it will take you step by step through all of the resources you have available for Own It, as well as giving you some pointers, pedagogical pointers. Here's an example of Practice Extra. So you can see you have language practice and then a game at the end. So learners can log on here and just do extra practice all the way through. There are videos. Oh, there's also the module here to work through to show us how to get the most out of this in class. Same with Test and Train. There's a module there, how to get the most out of Test and Train in the class. Last bit, nowhere to go for support. Okay, so first things first, the best website for support at the moment, in my opinion, is Exam Preparation Journey. So the Exam Preparation Journey is a website that essentially has two key resources. Number one, packs. These packs take us through the year, giving us advice and guidance on how to improve our teaching or give us ideas and inspiration for teaching. It gives us training as well on the different things. It starts at the start of the year, so starting your journey, and it finishes at the end with results and celebrations. So it's a lovely step-by-step guide throughout the year on different things that we can consider. The other great resource is the resource tab. If you click on the resource tab, you have access to each of the Cambridge English qualifications, and it will take you to the appropriate place to find all of those resources that we love from Cambridge, whether it's your handbooks, lesson plans, word lists, all of those lovely resources that Cambridge has on offer for free. You can quickly access them from here. So I honestly, check it out. It is a really nice website, easy to navigate, and it will guide you where you need to go. If you want to keep up to date with all of those resources as well, do sign up to our newsletter. If you are preparing your students for Cambridge English qualifications, here is where they'll come through. We often send through resources, we send through webinars, teacher news. There's lots of lovely information that comes from this newsletter. One more lovely resource that I like are our white papers. So if you're interested in pedagogical research, our team in Cambridge in the UK, there is a team called the Inspire team, and what they do is they investigate and study different English language teaching pedagogy, and they produce these white papers, we call them, these booklets. And as you can see, there are lots of lovely topics covering a range of different interests for us as English language teachers, okay? There are practical ideas, there's methodology. They're just useful things to read through. So if you're interested in pedagogical research, we've got that available for you as well. Of course, these are free access as well. Two more resources and then we'll crack on with Own It. Okay, so first things first, activities for developing sustainability skills. I have a question for you now. I've been talking for a good 10 minutes. No? In the chat box, can you tell me what comes to mind when you think about sustainability? So let me know in the chat box what comes to mind when you think about sustainability. Oh, nice. Very quick there, Daniel. Renewability, conservation, and resilience. I like it. Does anyone want to expand on and give us some more ideas? I agree with you there, Louisa. The environment, for sure. Environment, society, future. Environment, awareness. Things that last in time. That's very poetic. I like that. Eco-friendliness. Great. Lovely. Yeah, lovely, lovely stuff. Obviously, sustainability is really important. It's a topic that is growing within education as well. It's something we should be encouraging and talking about as much as we can. So what Cambridge has done is produce a series of resources to help us in the classroom. They're based around three key points: the environment, the social side of it, and also the economic side of it. There's a lovely quote here. Wow, my quote has shrunk. I don't know if you can read that. I'll read it out for you. Sustainability encompasses the knowledge, skills, and attitudes we need to ensure a fairer, brighter future for people and the natural world. So, taking this definition, Cambridge has produced a series of resources to support us. These resources try to encourage young people to play an active part because it's what they want to do. They try to guide us towards meaningful engagement using English language, so meaningful communication. Alongside that is development of life skills and also trying to keep English as a shared language, basically using English to talk about global discussions. And of course, in many places, it is now a government and institutional requirement to include sustainability in the planning. So, without further ado, this is the framework. Okay, you can see here, it's very similar to the Life Competencies framework. We have 4 key points: knowledge, values, innovation, transformation, and then the sub-skills there. Link is in the chat there. There is also another resource that comes with this to help us along the way. There are the activity cards. We do have a series of activity cards, young learners, teens, and adults. Okay, and they are based around those 4 key skills. And there are lots and lots of activity ideas for us to try and integrate sustainability into our language teaching. Again, if you're looking for more ideas for ways to encourage your learners to have more meaningful discussions at the basic level, this is a great resource for that. It encourages us to have pertinent conversations, really. Okay, one more resource, but could you answer in the chat box this question for me first? One word or phrase on how you feel about generative AI. When we talk about AI and all of the different variations of it, how do you feel? Do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing? Are you using it, not using it? Let us know. Nice, curious. Again, this is the classic response in the chat box. We can see everything from excited to cautious to inspirational to curious, yeah, to recognizing that it is both good and bad, right? It can do many great things, but it can also be a problematic depending on how it's used. And that's precisely what Cambridge is trying to help support us with in the classroom. We have a generative AI pack that is essentially training our learners and us, let's be honest, on how to become more confident and with using AI. Okay. There are different activities that focus on using it as a learning tool. There are different activities that talk about trying to understand how to write your questions into AI in the best way to get the most accurate response that you want. And there are different tools on how to use it to help you study. So again, another really lovely resource that can help support us in the classroom, help support the learners. Of course, I'm not saying we should try to use all of these resources. You would go crazy trying to fit all of the resources in class. But as they say here in Spain, it's better to have too much than too little, you know? So there's loads of things here to just play with, have a look at, know what's there. And you can start integrating a couple of activities from the AI cards, maybe one from the sustainability, use them as you wish throughout the year. Okay, before we move on to Own It, are there any final questions before I leave the support section? Remember, if you haven't got hold of the links from the chat, but in the follow-up email, you have access to all of this as well. Okay, no more questions. Let's jump on to Own It. Okay, so no questions, but I am going to offer another chance to share with us in the chat box. Can you think of 3 ways your course book helps you in the classroom? Type your answers into the chat box, please. So when you're using course material, what is it? How does it help you in the classroom? Yeah, thank you, Nina. I'm glad that was interesting. Hopefully useful. Tracy shares worksheets, videos, discussions. Yeah, nice. It's lots of resources, isn't it? It's a structure. Yeah, lessons well organized. It gives us a platform to build off of. Exactly that. It is that guide for us, isn't it? Doesn't mean it takes away from teaching. Obviously, it means that we can focus on teaching rather than having to think about all of those little bits all around. Nice. Motivate students, of course. Something any good course should do should be motivational for our learners. So, Maria, nice as well. Interesting topics and the teacher's book with extra ideas. So, Own It then has 6 great points that we like to bring up. Number 1, learn to learn. Learn to learn is the section that helps us help our learners become better students. It teaches them different ways to approach tasks, different ways to improve, different ways to take notes and study as well. Own It, one of the great features is the collaborative project work. There are so many opportunities for project work and to do different projects, whether it's in class or online, because obviously we have the collaboration tool on Cambridge One. There are just so many different ways that we can engage our learners. Own It is also very good at bringing the global culture into the classroom to have meaningful conversations. And those global culture topics as well, if we link them up with as maybe the AI or the sustainability cards, there's just loads and loads of great opportunities to expand on the learning in class. As mentioned, there are videos. There are tons of videos. There's like 40 videos per level. So there's loads of digital resource there. Also, we've got plenty of mixed ability support. None of us have a class with, well, it's not very common that we have a class with just one level, unless we are in an academy. But in schools, for example, we have so many different levels right in the class. And finally, we have plenty of digital support through Own It. Now, again, we were talking about great structure. That's how it helps us in the class, how course books help us in the class. That is also what Own It tries to do. It has a very clear journey through each unit. Number one, start it. There is always an opportunity to start and activate learners' knowledge at the beginning of the unit. Learners are gradually introduced to the topic and target language through a variety of different scaffolded activities. The idea is that we're building their confidence and we're trying to encourage them at the same time to be independent learners. Plenty of videos, listenings, readings, lots of different ways to introduce language and content. Moving on, then you have Explore It. There's the opportunities to develop research skills. So this is, again, encouraging that independent learning. We have Use It. So the next step is trying to encourage our learners to practice using the language that we are focusing on in a very controlled activity. Taking a step further, there's Voice It. So this allows learners to communicate and talk, personalizing the language. So if Use It is in a very controlled context, Voice It is now putting it in the hands of the learners to try and give their own versions of the language that's relevant to them. And then finally is Own It. Own It is the opportunity for the learners to demonstrate that they understand the topic and the language and work either in collaborative projects or in culture pages exploring different places around the world. And so every unit is all about this. It's about activation, input, building confidence, building knowledge, personalizing, and using. So let's see how that looks in the course book. First page, we have these unit openers. Now, every unit starts with a big, impactful image. The images try to be unique. They try to be like to generate curiosity in our learners. Like this lovely image here, right? There is also that first documentary video that presents the topic. So between the static image and also the video, we've got lots of interaction points to try and set the scene for the unit for our learners. On the first page as well, you also have your learning outcomes. So this is the objectives for the unit. Now you can use this in a range of different ways. The reason it's there on the first page is to let the learners know what is expected of them over this unit, right? Now, what we can do is as we go through the unit, we can identify what we're doing in these learning outcomes so the learners know. And also what we can do at the end of the unit is come back to them and you can use it as a tick list. Have we done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Do you understand this? It's kind of a nice way to visualize progress. Remember at the beginning when I was talking about what we need to do to create an environment, a positive, motivated environment for our learners. It's recognizing progress is one of them. This is a great opportunity because the learners can go through and really identify how they are learning. So, lovely big visual at the beginning. How would you use the visual at the beginning of the class? I've given you one example here. You could ask students to write down one sentence after watching the video, something you've learned, something surprising in your favorite scene. So giving them something active to do throughout the unit. Does anyone else have any things that they might use the big visual for? Or what other questions could they use maybe? Up to you which question you answer. Let me know in the chat box. I'll leave the chat box going there. Okay. And I'll jump ahead to the next slide then. So moving on. Nice. Thank you, Maria. We could use see, think, wonder activity. Exactly. What did you see? What does it make you think? What does it make you wonder? Beautiful. That's a really nice, easy task to apply to the videos and the visuals as well. So moving on, you can see here that you have the Explore It section. Remember, I talked about that. So the way the unit works, we start with a big visual, we have vocabulary. After the vocabulary, you have Explore It. The idea is to encourage learners to practice the research skills and extend their learning beyond language. It is also designed to encourage our learners to use English in a practical way. It takes English to the real world. It takes English to something that's not just sitting in class, practicing vocabulary and grammar, right? It's actually using English for something. And that is something that strong English language learners do. Whether it's listening to songs, watching videos, whatever they use English for, it's normally the ones who use it outside the class in a proactive way that tend to develop quicker. So this is kind of developing those skills. It's encouraging learners to use English for a reason. There are also get it right boxes. You'll see here. These function as the reason we have these is to focus on common learner mistakes. Now, some of you may recognize this little yellow ring here. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is the Cambridge Learner Corpus. What that means is all of those exams that learners take, they get put into a big database, corrected. And what we can do then is we can identify at this level, let's say B1, learners are making a lot of mistakes on these points. So we can identify the common learner errors, take them out, and that information informs our material. And that appears as get it right boxes in our course books. Then we also have use it. If you remember, use it was direct semi-controlled or controlled and semi-controlled activities that ensure that our learners are using the language we're practicing. So essentially taking and putting language into action. And you'll notice that our course books also try to work through input, practice, production. So giving them the language, practicing the language, and then always at the end of a lesson, there's a productive task of some sort, whether it's collaborative, pair work, discussions, something to use that language. Then we move on to reading. Okay, so this is an example of reading, and it will be finishing with a voice that you see. We've got the reading activity, so we've got the input, practice, and then personalization, production. And this one is a voice it. This is then less controlled. It's more about encouraging a student to think about what they've done, to understand the concept, and then to give a personal response. The idea is to encourage critical thinking. Okay, so looking at this activity, what activities could you do in class with this question? If anyone has any ideas, let us know in the chat box. While you're writing, I will share some of my ideas here as well. So for me, the thing that comes up straight away is a debate. We could do a debate in a range of different ways. There's the fishbowl debate. two groups, one group in the middle in a circle, one group on the outside in a bigger circle, looking at each other, then set a period of time, they have a conversation, then they can move around. So they're having one-to-one conversations and they move around to now have conversations with different people. Lovely way to rehearse, practice, develop language as well. Speed dating is another one. Get the learners in a line in the middle of the class, facing each other, sorry, two lines facing each other, and then the same idea, move down and swap with your partner. The final one is a silent debate. So this one, we divide the class into groups, and each group has a debate topic. Instead of speaking, students should write their arguments and counter arguments on a large piece of paper or the whiteboard or some space in the class where you can write. Set a time, the group rotates, the new group must then respond to the other group's arguments. So the idea is, it's kind of like an asynchronous debate, if you will. So you've got two groups writing their arguments, they swap, they have to counter argue, they swap back, they counter argue, but while they're in their groups talking, they can discuss with each other, right? And they can say, well, no, I think this and I think that. So it's encouraging communication. So again, these voice it sections are a great springboard to go and do things in the class. Yeah, nice. Nina's given a great idea as well. They can invent their own clothes shop. So these types of projects where they can talk about it and move forward and think, well, how can we apply this in a new context? It's a lovely example. Moving on, then you have vocabulary and listening, and also moving into the grammar sections. Now, throughout Own It, another feature that I absolutely love is called the Learn to Learn section. So you see these little boxes on the page. They are those little opportunities to help our learners develop skills that maybe they haven't learned already. It's helping teach them different ways to study. It doesn't mean they have to use them, but it's useful to know that there are different ways to learn, right? These are, of course, aligned to the Cambridge Life Competencies Framework I showed you earlier on. And there are also full instructions in the teacher's book on how to use all of these different sections. Then we move on, we've got the grammar page, the grammar in action. We have a grammar video there as well, which shows teenagers similar age to the learners in class using the target language in a realish context. It is like a vlog style video, and there's also a grammar presentation in there. So this tool is good for classroom if you want to put a classroom explanation, or if you want to set maybe a flipped classroom. So learners go home before we do the grammar lesson, they watch the video, they do the activities. There's a worksheet with it if you want to use a video worksheet. So they practice the grammar before they come into class. And when they come into class, we can focus on the production, the using of the grammar as well. So again, another lovely resource there. Once we've done the vocabulary and grammar, we've got our production lessons, so speaking and writing. There are nice guidance here on useful language, on different things that, different language that we can focus on that are important. Also, there's a nice video here talking about everyday English. So this is more natural sounding, fun language. So you can see here, different phrases like no way, really, wow, you're joking. Like these are little things that native speakers use, and it just helps them. One is fun and interesting and is different, and they'll remember this much easier than they'll remember the grammar points for sure, you know, but it's just fun little ways to add a bit of color and flavor to your class. Then we have our speaking or writing tasks. They're very structured. They go task, speak, check, or task, write, check, depending on what you're doing. The idea is there is an objective. You are going to a speaking task, and this is what you have to do. Don't forget, you need to do X, Y, Z. In this case, the checklist is Use the past simple and past time expressions. Try to use the vocabulary from this unit and use the useful language and everyday English phrases. So we've got a speaking task and we're encouraging our learners to use everything that they've picked up throughout the previous pages in a productive task, right? And the same with the writing. It's encouraging them to think about and use the language that we've been studying. What's nice about this is then the check section. What it encourages our learners to do is to go and listen to another learner's conversation or read another learner's writing and use the checklist to make sure that they are doing it. So we're trying to encourage our learners to notice the language use from their peers. Always trying to encourage them to reflect on their own learning, but also be aware of how they can integrate it into their own sort of speaking and writing. Again, a super lovely structure that is all about that autonomous learning. It's all about encouraging them to be more proactive, more productive, encouraging our learners to be more autonomous in their learning. And of course, we have our Get It Right section at the end. So there's another opportunity to highlight common learner mistakes and work on them, or be aware of them at least. And this is like all of our core content. So up to here, we've practiced our language, our vocabulary, our reading, and our listening. We've done speaking, and now we've done writing. So we've covered all of those 4 skills. The next pages then are all about expanding on it, taking it further. First of all, we have our around the world pages. Now, around the world are like culture pages, culture pages where we can explore different topics and different people and different stories from around the world. They introduce I've lost my train of thought there, sorry. They encourage our learners to think about the topic, not just read English and for a language learning purpose. Again, it's all about trying to take it into the cultural side. There are documentaries here as well. So these are called Globetrotter documentaries. They're linked to the context of the reading, and they will use the grammar and vocabulary in the unit and encourage our learners to interact with the topic. And if we go along and we look at the last little bit here, you'll see that there is a project linked to it. So every around the world page has a project linked to it. I'll show you that a bit later. Because before that, I wanted to suggest that a really nice way we can use the readings in Own It, especially the readings here in the culture pages as well, is using it as a jigsaw reading task. So how does that work? We split the reading up into 3 or 4 parts. Each learner takes one of those parts. So we have a group of 3. Each learner takes the different part. Then they compare their notes with other learners who have the same reading as them. So all of the people with part A join together, all the people with part B join together, and all the people with part C join together. They talk about it, they compare notes, they can translate it, they can summarize it, they can create a word dictionary. So any words they don't know, they can find or they can ask you. So they really understand their reading. Then they join back with another group of 3 where we have one learner with each part. So there'll be a learner with part A, part B, part C working together, and they answer the questions and they share the information. So the way Own It is set up and the readings, there are many, many, many opportunities to do this because they are split up into different sections. You can see here, this activity is also integrated into the coursebook here. You can see on the right, like news, chat, tweet, share, like, right? Working groups and go through jigsaw reading. So again, fantastic addition to the course. Then at the end, you have your review and you're finished. So the review section is a review. It's just going over the vocabulary and the grammar that they've covered. And the finished section is a fast finishers page. So if you have a mixed ability class, then those learners who finish quicker can jump here and have a look at the The fast finishers, they're game type activities, a bit of extra practice, a bit of fun while their peers are finishing. Now, I mentioned the projects before. There is a project book available that takes you step-by-step ideas on how to do projects. So linked to every one of those around the world sections, you have a project. And within the project book, it will take you through exactly what you need to do, the different stages of that project. It gives you guidance as well on things like roles and responsibilities. It gives you a full project rubric to start with. You can use this rubric, you can expand this rubric, you can reduce the rubric if you want. Okay, so you have all of the resources to manage a project, whether you've been doing projects for 20 years or it's the first year you're going to use projects, right? It's just a nice reference point for us. There are great things like classroom suggestions. So there are some typical challenges for projects, and there are other suggestions on how to use them, or how to deal with them, sorry. Again, we have around the world projects, but we also have CLIL projects. So at the back of the book, you'll see there are full projects for the CLIL pages as well. So you have around the world pages, and you also have CLIL pages, CLIL being cross-curricular, learning other subjects through English. In this case, we are learning history. Okay, and what each one of these projects does is it tries to encourage learners to deal with different things that we would come across in projects. So, for example, how to do a recorded interview. So recording yourself is a great way to learn how to improve your English language. The projects also follow that same structure. In this case now, it's plan or task, present, check. The idea being that they become more familiar with this process. And then when they present their project, their peers watch their project and they can check the checklist to make sure that they have done what they need to do. So just another great resource there. More pages to look at. We also have Learn to Learn. Now, if you are really into helping our learners become better students, it's one of my personal favorite things to do is to give them the skills they need to become autonomous. Okay. And then the Learn to Learn sections are great. You can see here, I've pulled out just a few of them at different levels. Organizing your workbooks, learning to work in pairs, set and achieve learning goals, help your partners improve their speaking. There's just loads of lovely lessons to help develop a range of different skills to help our learners become more autonomous. You can see here as well, they build on those little Learn to Learn sections in the students' book. So you remember I pointed out those little Learn to Learn sections. They take those ideas and expand them into full lessons. They introduce vital learning strategies and techniques for them to become more independent as well. Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead. So again, another great resource. Now, I do want to take a brief moment here to say, Own It has so much available to you. It's really, really important that we think about and look at and think about the different ways we want to integrate it. Do we want to integrate everything? Or do we want to focus on X, Y, Z throughout the term? And then at the end of the term, maybe we look at Learn to Learn, or vice versa. Maybe at the start of the term, first weeks back at school, we're going to look at organizing your notebook. Let's focus on that. Let's do that lesson, set the standard, and then it's something we can reinforce as we go through the unit, right? So you can bookend or bookmark your lessons, start with the Learning to Learn, do the unit, finish with the project. So we've got many different tools available to us, okay? Maybe the project you want to do online. Go on to the Cambridge One, do the modules on how to teach using Cambridge One, and try to find the best way to integrate Collaboration Plus, because you can monitor groups online. You can set groups, set learners into the groups as well. So again, loads of resources. It's all about finding what works for you. Remember, you don't have to use everything. It's a stressful thing to try and do. So just try to focus in certain areas. On that, there are lots of digital tools. Now we've looked at Cambridge One. We've looked at Presentation Plus is your front of class tool. Teachers' resources. Remember, learners can collaborate online, and Practice Extra is bite-size friendly activities to support the classroom learning. Just to round off today's session, then there are top tips. Number one, providing a communicative approach. There are lots and lots of opportunities throughout. Own it for communication, whether it's use it, voice it, project work. Try to find a reason for the learners to communicate. Next, excuse me, give as many opportunities for speaking in general. Teens love to talk. It's also the way they're going to improve, probably more quickly. Remember that we should think about putting the focus on the learner. Us as a teacher, do I need to be in control of this activity, or can I let my learners go with it and do what they want with the activity? Scary thought, but really, really something that teenage learners value. Remember, interaction is important, but the same interaction all the time can be boring. So vary the ways they interact, whether it's speed dating, the fishbowl, if it's silent discussions on either side. Try to think of different ways to encourage the learners to interact, whether it's pairs. If we use pairs a lot of the time, maybe some days we want to use threes. Just that slight change creates a new dynamic. It's something really, really important for the dynamic of the class. Sorry. Again, encouraging our learners to work together and generate their own content. If they're always just regurgitating the information they've been given, it could be quite repetitive for them. So encouraging and finding opportunities for them to create something to share is another big factor when teaching teens. And finally, how can we introduce the fun element into the classroom? So that's everything I've got for you this morning. Flown through that. There is a PDF that has a video tutorial on Own It, and there's also a little review there for us. Does anyone have any questions? I don't see any questions in the Q&A. I don't know if anyone else has any questions they would like to ask right now. While you're thinking about your questions, I'm going to share with you a survey. So do let us know if this was useful, if you've got some ideas to take away. And in the meantime, while you're voting for us, let us know any questions you have. Nice, thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. There's a question there. Can we use it in private courses? Of course you can. Remember that a lot of the course is focused on collaboration interaction. So as long as you have multiple learners, you'll be able to make the most of the course material. If you're doing one-to-one classes, you can, but remember that you will be involved in the conversations as well. Okay. So one final thing then before I let you get away. Remember that we have lots and lots of different training courses going on. Do sign up, go find out different sessions we have on it. The next couple of days we'll be delivering the last of the sessions. Okay, so do sign up, let us know. Remember, you'll get your video back, your link to the recording in the follow-up email. Wonderful. Okay, well, I think we can finish there. Well done, everybody. Have a lovely week and all the best. Bye-bye now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.